Hello, in today's video we are going to look at what is meant by database testing. As before starting with the explanation of what is meant by database testing, it is very important to test a particular database, whether in manual testing or in automation testing. As a tester, you must have the knowledge of basic SQL or the knowledge of SQL database or the queries, like simple queries, at least how to create a table, how to insert records in table, how to update, how to delete, how to drop a table, how to uh, make an entry at particular situation or particular row. You have the basic knowledge of basic SQL, or if in case of no SQL, you must have the knowledge of JSON or index or some key pairs. So firstly we'll look at the what is meant by database testing. So database testing is done to verify the content of database by executing some queries. Means if some data is stored in a database, now you have to check. Means basically the database testing is used to check the data validity, integrity and performance of database. So what is meant by data validity? Means if particular, in case of telecom billing project, okay, in CRM you have stored the customer information. Now I have to check whether the stored information is really stored in database. So I have to check that particular by firing some query. For example, the first customer I have created, so ID of first customer will be like 1 and name will be some like ABC. Now I have to check whether that particular customer is really stored in a database. So I will fire some query to check, like select query, to check whether that particular customer is really stored in the database. Then to check integrity means what? Integrity means if I have stored a data like that, the first customer is ID1, the name is ABC, address is something XYZ. Now I have to check whether in database the same name, same address is stored, same phone number is stored, same mailing address will be stored. So this is nothing but a data integrity. Means whatever the data I have entered, is it really stored in the same format, in same words or same structured in the database. Then to check the performance of database, means if I have stored something, some entries of 100 customers, then how your database is storing, how it is returning to me. Means if I have selected, I have triggered a select query to search particular database, then how much time it will take. So these are the some parameters I have to check while performing the database testing, or this is one, we can say, the main purpose of database testing. Mainly the database testing includes the checking of stored procedures, tables, columns, views, schema, then index, key, triggers, right? So these are the some parameters we check while performing a database testing. So first we'll focus on what are the steps included or what are the steps in database testing. So first step is set up the test environment. Means as you have to test a database, right? So depending on your project, you have to prepare a environment or test environment. Means if your project has stored all the data in MySQL, then you have to set up, means you have to install that particular software to fire the query and check the database, like a MySQL will be, or MS SQL, NoSQL, MongoDB, anything software you have to set up to check the database of particular project. Then second is execute the test case. Execute the test case means what? If the test case is like verify the customer named as ABC has this particular address. Now this is the select query I have to trigger, right? So execution of query means basically in test execution what happen here, different queries like insert, update, delete, modify, as per the test case or as per the requirement we are going to execute. Then the third will be check the result. Means if I have triggered the query to find out the customer address whose name is ABC, then I have triggered a select query. Now I am cross checking whatever will be the output comes on the screen. I have to check whether the same address which I have entered while creating the customer, and whatever the address is stored in the database, and whatever the address is pop up on the output screen is correct or not. This is nothing but a third step, that is check the result. Then the fourth step is validate the output. Validate means what? Verifying the result. Means whatever the address is stored and entered is correct or not. So here also need to validate whether all test cases or all queries which are specified in the test case document is executed or not. And the last step while performing database testing is report the result. Means if you have fired one particular query and its output is wrong, means it is not matching with the expected output, means there is some defect, then you have to report that particular defect. Means to particular developer you have to tell, this is where I found this particular defect. These are the nothing but steps you have to perform or you have to follow while performing a database testing. Now we'll move to the next important point, that is what are the different types of database testing. Basically in database testing there are three different types, that is structural database testing, functional and non-functional. So what is meant by structural database testing? As its name itself suggests that the structure of database means what actually database is having. It is having tables, columns, schema, stored procedure. So we have to check the structure of it. So in structural database testing it mainly focus on the schema. Schema means structure of particular database or structure of particular table. So how we are going to check in structural testing? So for example, I will give you one example. If in you are entering a customer information, right? So you are storing its name, its address, its phone number, its email id, right? For example, you have entered these 4 fields. Now in structural or schema testing I have to check whether all these 4 fields which I have entered on the front end or in some user interface, whether all these 4 details are get stored in the database. Means whether that table is having these 4 columns, having the, here also we have to check the naming convention as well. Means for example, if I am storing a first name, so in database or in table there must be a name first name as. If you are storing a first name and in database it is reflecting like a last name, so it's a defect or it's a mismatch. So ensure that in structural testing you are checking the schema or the structure of particular database and find out unmapped element. Unmapped element means what? For example, you are entering email address, but in database there is no any column for email or email is not getting stored. So you have to find out that unmapped element as well. Then in structural testing you also check a triggers. So triggers means what? Trigger is nothing but for example, you are entering some customer information, right? So once you enter particular customer information, it will pop up a successful message. Yes, customer is entered, customer information is entered successfully. So this is a pop-up, right? So these are the some triggers. So you have to check this manually, means by here to check the trigger is working fine or not, you have to make an entry of customer and then check whether it is pop-upping some message which is the right one. If you have missed, if you have entered a invalid email id, means if you missed to write down the @ symbol, then whether it is giving a pop-up message like invalid email id. So these are the triggers you have to check under the structural testing. Then the main thing is that you have to check the stored procedure. So stored procedure means what? Stored procedure is nothing but some procedures you required repeatedly. Means for example, if I require to execute repeatedly some select command, means I have to view the address of particular customer or address of anything repeatedly, then I will write that particular code and store it as a one procedure, and while executing I will just trigger the single command. Means instead of writing whole select command which is having the combination of all tables and all, I will only write down that particular procedure. So I have to check manually whether that stored procedure is working fine or not, whether it is giving a correct output every time. So this is also comes under the structural testing. Then the next type of database testing is a functional testing. So what is meant by functional testing? Functional testing is done according to user perspective or according to user's view. Means here it is basically focus on the functioning of database. It is mainly having the two types. Functional testing is having two types, that is white box testing and black box testing. So what actually here tested means, for example, if customer want to view, when I enter, I want to select the details of customer having ID 1. Then I have to check whether the output comes on the screen is correct or not. It comes under the white box testing. But when I am selecting, when I want to see the whole details of customer having ID 1, so I have to check how it is actually coming, whether in backend is it a view, is it a store procedure, is it a trigger. So I have to check the query, I have to which query I have run, or how that particular database has stored it, what are the different columns or the rows are included in particular database, what are the different tables are there. So this is nothing but a white box testing, means I'm checking the output by checking the logic behind it, how it is stored, what is the primary key, what is the foreign key, and all the details. So as per the user's perspective or as per the end user need, you have to make a testing of particular database in a black box or white box. Means if they want a only output, cross checking of output, then you can do that particular testing like that. If they want a detailed testing, you can go for a white box testing by checking the logic behind it as well. Then the third and last type of database testing is a non-functional testing. So non-functional testing means what? Here you are checking the performance of database. Means it includes the stress testing, load testing. Means what? For example, your particular software is having the capacity to store the information of 100 customers. Then you try to enter 100 entries and check whether that particular load or stress is managed by your system. If it is working fine, then your test is pass. But and you also going to check by entering 101 customer, means you are entering some extra customers in the your system, and you are checking the performance or how your system is reacting to that particular test case, is nothing but the non-functional testing. So basically keep in mind, in structural testing you are checking the or testing the structure of your particular database. In functional testing you are checking the functioning, how your particular database is behaving, and in non-functional testing you are checking the performance of database. So I request you all, please subscribe to our channel, do comment on which point I have to make a next video. If you are interested in SQL queries or SQL related some videos, do comment. Please share our videos and please check other video links in description box. Thank you.